Good morning, good morning, good morning. Alright, see, just a quick voice check. Let me know if there's any echo, etc., etc. Oh man, Twitter logged me out. That's unfortunate. Ben says my Nasdaq trade of the monthly dynamic is going amazing. So what you're saying is, yet another Sean Dexter trade. This cycle is going amazing. Yeah, man, also have just not been the trade at all, and okay, just give me a sec. Alrighty, I'm back. Guys, smash the likes. We're about to begin. I'm just going to be setting up a few tabs here. We have a few things to talk about. I'm not all that organized today, but I'm never organized. But actually, that's not true. I do come in very prepared. But those aren't the fun streams, right? It's the streams where I'm just all over the place that are the most fun. Alright, any particular requests today? And let's be a little bit more interesting, guys. Don't ask me for XYZ altcoin. Like, all you really need to do is look at the Mango dashboard, and it tells you what you need to know, right? We've been going through this rigmarole for the past few weeks now, and it's pretty much the dashboard is telling you the story. We created that dashboard for you guys so that way, so that way you guys don't gotta constantly bug us about something. I'm kidding. It's to make it life easier. So. Alrighty, let's jump right into it. Apologies for the delay. We did have to wait for a few more people to get into the stream. And before I do begin, give me a quick voice check. Spam the like buttons and spam yes in the live chat. So that way I know you guys can hear me a-okay before I begin. Because you guys know, once I begin, I don't stop. We don't want me to go on one of my long-ass spiels before I realize that you guys can't hear me. Alright, seems like you guys can hear me. Let's jump into it with the mango intro. And let's hope I got everything in order. Yes! Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Sean Dexter, and welcome you back to yet another mango live stream. I was supposed to do a live stream to start off the week, but Krisha hijacked my time slot and took away my bi-weekly analysis from me. But hey, it is Thursday. I figured, why not do a live stream today? By the way, it is Thursday, so today is going to be our weekly seed clubhouse session. So you seedlings better show up for today's seed session. We have some really, really interesting things to talk about in regards to our longer term positioning as well. And yeah, again, it's been around 4.5 to 5 hours from now, I believe. Yeah, so anyways, you guys will get a notification, and if you can't make it, it's going to be recorded under the seed exclusive content section. But try to make it because you get to ask questions, etc., etc., etc. All right, let's jump into it. When Lambo Sean says, Ben, soon. Okay, honestly, I have to really, really revise my upside targets, my long-term upside targets for Bitcoin. I'm just going to come out and say it right now, actually. Well, by the way, guys, I'm really tired. I woke up super, super early today. And yeah, so it's already been a long day for me. Like, it's been a long day for me. So while you guys might be fresh and awake, I'm actually very, very tired already. I'm going to try my best, though, to get through the rest of the day. So I'm going to just say it right now in regards to my upside targets for Bitcoin. At this point, I'm looking at a minimum of $1 million, not for the cycle. Don't get excited. Don't get excited. But anything less than around $750 to $1 million long term is going to be a disappointment. Okay. When I say long term, I'm talking about, what year is it? 2025, right? 2032, right? So let's give it like 7 years for a $1 million target. And now many of you are going to be like, oh my God, I got to wait so long. Again, people overestimate how long the short term is, right? And underestimate how fast the long term will take to play out, right? Before you know it, it's going to be 2032, 2030, and we'll be very close, or if not above those targets. So we're going to talk about why, by the way. Like, the first thing we talk about today is going to be why I think Bitcoin is going to be hitting those targets as a midterm target, right? Longer term, we likely might see much, much, much higher than $1 million Bitcoin. I know that sounds absurd. Now there are going to be two cohorts right here. Some people are going to be thinking, oh man, I gotta wait so long for my $1 million target. Then there are going to be other people who are going to be calling me a bulltard, perma bull, etc., etc., and saying things like, man, I need to fix this. God damn it, my neck pillow. There are going to be people who are going to be saying that, oh, Sean's a bulltard, his targets are unrealistic, etc., etc. So, right? Some people saying, that's too long. I don't care. I still want to buy altcoins. I want to buy altcoins because I get there faster. Then there are going to be people who are going to be calling me a bulltard. And then there are going to be some of you who've been here with me since 2018, 19, where Bitcoin was only sitting around $3,000, and I remember Bitcoin was sitting at 3,000. I called for around 14,000 to, actually my exact target was 13,300-ish for a short-term to mid-term target. You guys saw how that played out. And then we went all the way back down again, and I called for the $50,000 target. We saw how all of that played. I'm not and I'm sounding so pretentious right now. Oh, I told you so kind of thing. I don't want to do that. What I'm trying to say is that things that are unrealistic at the time, in the long term end up being realistic, right? And the long term is very relative to how you are feeling about the asset at the moment. And let me tell you, right now, a $1 million target for Bitcoin might be actually bearish. 1 million in 7 years is great, says Steve XRP. Yeah, because we look back at the previous generations, the Gen Xers, the Boomers, and we talk about, oh, you guys got to buy housing at $90,000, $100,000 per house, and now look at the housing. Housing's gone all the way up to $500,000 to $1 million, right? If you're in Canada, it's $1 million per single family home. If you're in the States, it's still around. It's affordable to us Canadians. When we look at your pricings in the States, your housing seems extremely affordable to us, but I know it doesn't seem as affordable to Americans, right? Because it's all relative, and Canada has gotten that crazy. But we have that same opportunity right now as millennials. Okay, we are literally been given the opportunity to buy an asset that is around $90,000 to $100,000, and we are looking at a $1 million target within 10 years. That's not the same opportunity. That's a better opportunity, albeit with far more risk, albeit with far more liquidity demands, right? Because to be fair, when Boomers and the Gen Xers had to buy a $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 home, they didn't have to put up $100,000. They only had to put up $10,000 if you're putting it 10% down. In Canada, by the way, many of the Gen Xers I know who were buying $350,000 to $300,000 homes had to put 0% down, 1% down when they bought their homes. There was no liquidity constraints on them at all other than the monthly mortgage payments. And then those homes went up to $1 million. I can go on and on about the platter that was handed out to the Gen Xers and the Boomers compared to the millennials. But at the end of the day, it's pointless because we have our platter right over here, which is crypto, and we got to take advantage of it, okay? Don't let them influence you because they had their freaking cake already and they don't want you to have your cake. Your cake is here. So let's go ahead and talk about how tabs all set up. First tab over here is the Bitunix tab because this stream qualifies for the $1,000 giveaway. All you need to do is hit the like button. To qualify for the $1,000 giveaway, all you need to do is hit the like button. Then underneath in the description, you'll find a link. All you have to do is go to themangoway.com/Bitunix, okay? Go to the link and create an account, or if you already have created an account, all you need to do is deposit $50 into the account and you will qualify for the $1,000 giveaway. And if you don't win this week, you still qualify to win for the following week too. Okay, so that's all you need to do. Okay, $50 deposit and you qualify for the $1,000 giveaway. And we've already given away the last few live streams. Krish has announced the winners, so 5 winners per stream, right? And check your account. You'll see if you won, of course, you'll see the deposit in there. Okay, let's move on now. Let's talk about why I think Bitcoin is going to be going over to. I need help with this. God damn it. Kusha, could you come here for a sec? I'll turn off the camera. Just give me a sec, guys. Kusha, if you're here, I need you to help me with my thingy. I don't want to move because if I lose this spot here, I'm going to have to readjust. So this is a two-person job. Is she here? I hope she's here. God damn it. Oh, there. Hold up. Kusha, let me turn off the camera. Kusha isn't... Actually, I don't know. All right, cool. You can come in now. she's double checking. Okay, I'll do this just to. I need help with my thingy. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. That's kind of why the camera is. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. Hey Julian, how's it going? Julian says, also we can get to 1 million in 7 years. Okay, I think you mean 7 years in a very orderly manner with this institutional bid, which means sustainable. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Alrighty. Kusha, help me out. I'm good. Okay, cool. So let's read out Julian's comment right here. Also, we can get to 1 million in 7 years in a very orderly manner with this institutional bid, which means sustainable. Which means it's sustainable. Yeah. So the orderliness is something I wouldn't want to bet on. Okay, we've had a very, very orderly run so far. We're going to talk about that too. I do think though that we're going to have a long-term passive bid on Bitcoin that will keep things sustainable. Okay, I would bet on prices being long-term sustainable and even higher than what people think. So 1 million is kind of like base case at this point, right? 750,000 to 1 million. I'm going to give that kind of that range. It's kind of base case. So there's massive opportunity for those of you long term, and we should not be ignoring what's going on over here. Okay, so this I know there are people talking about it already, like sailors tweeted it out. Folk are tweeting this out, but I don't think it's getting as much attention as it should be getting because the long term implications of this are massive. So what is this exactly? I'm going to try to break this down as simply as possible for you guys and also keep it as I'm going to try to not bore you guys with the details. Okay, so this dude here, Puite, who is he? Who the hell is this dude? Like, what a stupid name, right? What a stupid goddamn name. But you click on this guy's and by the way, apologies for cussing. Goddamn, it comes out. But this dude over here is the US director of the Federal Housing, FHFA. What is this? Well, it is an organization that has authority to direct Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to make certain decisions that they are allowed to when pertaining to mortgages, when pertaining to assessing a single family home's credit worthiness when buying a home. Okay, so if you have crypto, you can now use that crypto to go to the bank and say, hey, I have XYZ crypto. Can you assess my eligibility for XYZ home based on my crypto holdings? This is massive. What this is essentially doing is essentially ordering Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae into forcing banks to allow people to use their Bitcoin as collateral. This has been the dream since 2019. Mango has been talking about this, right? What does this do, guys? This has two massive implications. It reduces sell pressure, and number two, it unlocks liquidity. Okay, unlocks a lot of liquidity that is sitting there in the crypto markets that cannot be tapped into because people are so bullish on the long-term aspects of Bitcoin. On top of that, it's not just people who are bullish on the long-term aspects of Bitcoin, it's also people who just do not trust the financial system at all. They cannot bear. We are forgetting about the entire cohort of people who aren't in Bitcoin because they're trying to make money. They are in Bitcoin because they're trying to save money. They don't even care if it goes up or not, as long as they get to store their value in there and sleep well at night. And while you guys look at Bitcoin as risk and looking at the price every now and every single day, scared about it going down. There are people who just who are in Bitcoin because they are so convicted. They have so much trust in it, right? Because they understand it. I don't blame them. That they can't have their Bitcoin in anything else. They can't have their money in anything else. Right? They can only sleep well at night. They can only sleep well at night if their money is in Bitcoin. Okay? These guys were never going to sell. They were never going to sell. But at the same time, they have all this wealth that is completely trapped. What this does is allows them to tap into their liquidity without selling. I'll be giving up some custodial rights that we'll talk about soon. Without selling, tap into that liquidity and buy housing, right? It's a win-win now for the government and for the people. So you might be asking, okay, so how does, if they weren't going to sell, how is this going to help anyways? Because, at the end of the day, people need to up their quality of life. And when we have these massive cycles where we have these parabolic runs, we have these parabolic rallies to the upside, I want you guys to think about the psychology, okay? Some of these guys who have been in Bitcoin since like $200, $1,000, and Bitcoin goes up to $20,000 in the first 2017 rally. They may not sell their entire stash, but they may sell 10% to improve their quality of life, to buy that massive home that they've always dreamt about. Okay, cool. So they sell 10% over there. And then price comes down because remember, when markets go parabolic, there's less liquidity on the order books. So the little you do, just think about it, okay? Supply and demand economics. Prices go all the way up to $20,000. There's less eager buyers at $20,000 compared to when Bitcoin was sitting at like $3,000, $1,000, right? So price sitting at $20,000. These guys come in to sell only 10% of their stash, which is not much to them, but to the market, it's a lot, okay? So not enough buyers, but 10% of a whale's stash is a lot of sellers. Makes prices come down, okay? They have improved their quality of living, and prices come down, we get a chance to rebuy again, blah, 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 cycle continues again, the process repeats. But what's important to note over there is that markets are priced on the marginal seller and the marginal buyer. Their marginal sell of only 10%, okay, was enough to put pressure onto the order books at the top of the sell to push price down. So all it takes is the marginal seller to push prices down. What this does is removes at least some of the marginal selling, if not a lot of the marginal selling, okay? I'm just talking about the people who have decided to not sell Bitcoin now and now have a reason to not even sell that 10%, okay? Like they're long-term holding on to Bitcoin anyways because they sleep well at night. But now, you know why I know these people exist? Because I'm one of these people. Okay, I'm one of these people, and there are lots of other people who are like this in the world. Several people, and there's less reason to sell now, depending on where you're living, of course. On top of that, because Bitcoin can be used as collateral, there are far more entrants, market participants who are going to enter the market, guys. Okay, these guys are going to be thinking, oh wow, wait a minute. I have more reason to buy Bitcoin now. I've been on the fence for the longest time, but if I can use my Bitcoin as collateral, there's utility in just that. You guys need to understand, one of the strongest use cases that is not talked about, okay? That's not talked about at all, is the ability of an asset to be used as collateral. People say, oh, gold has no utility. Oh, Bitcoin has no utility. Oh, housing has no utility unless you rent it out. That is not true at all, okay? I think that's a very like old school way of thinking about things with our old financial system, but we are such a debt-based system at the moment. It is what it is. We'll all agree that we are a debt-based system, but people think about a debt-based system based on the fact that the world is in so much debt. The truth of a debt-based system is the fact that debt is used as a way to monetize existing assets without having to sell them because of the tax advantages of you not selling assets, right? So as long as those incentives are in place, we are going to continue to have people drawing debt out of existing assets. And that is why there has been such a long-term upside bid on real estate, as well as bonds for that matter, right? Why? Because you can essentially buy a home in Canada, buy a home in the States, then go up to the government and say, I have this asset that I want to now, like, you know, let's say you buy a home for $1 million, $500,000, whatever, right? And you just keep it there. You don't rent it, don't do anything with it. You can still come back a few years later and be like, hey, I have this asset over here that I want to draw against, okay? I don't care what it's worth, 550, 650, doesn't matter. I just want to draw some liquidity against this home. I'm willing to pay 2%, 3%, whatever the mortgage rate is, right? And you can always do that. That is an asset that has so much power for you, because you will never ever be worried about US dollars sitting in your account losing value year after year, year after year after year after year after year. And two, you don't ever have any liquidity concerns, right? Because you can't draw liquidity from a painting. Like, you know, let's say you go and store it in art or something like that. It's hard to get a loan against that. But housing, it's very, very, very easy to do that. This is the first step. What we are seeing over here, the US Federal Housing, FHFA, directing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to essentially allow people to use their crypto, use their Bitcoin as a way to assess their creditworthiness, which essentially is telling them that, hey, you gotta allow them to use Bitcoin as collateral. Do you guys understand what that means? Okay. Now, I with that spiel out of the way, I do want to explain what exactly is Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Okay, they aren't really banks. Simply put, what these guys are I'm not going to get into what they were before 2008 financial crisis and the government stepped in and bailed them out and took control. So right now they are government backed, but the way it works is that people misunderstand. These guys don't give out loans directly. They don't give out loans to people directly. What they do though is they help the banks give people loans. Okay, so I want you guys to think about the mechanics of this, so that way you guys understand the flow and why this is so powerful. A bank will give out loans to families, right? To to us. But the bank has to assess your credit worthiness. Then the bank is not holding on to that loan. Bank doesn't take on all of that risk itself. What the bank then does is it goes up to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae will buy those loans off the bank. So they are kind of deferring or offsetting the risk on over to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Now, because of that, the bank will always be considering what Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae considers safe, right? And because of that, every bank is pseudo accepting crypto as collateral. That's why it's so powerful. Do you guys get what I mean? It doesn't matter whether a particular bank has been directed to do it or not. This is literally the top level, right? Because every bank now has an incentive to consider your Bitcoin as collateral, because the person that they will be selling your loan to is going to be looking at that as a safe asset. Does it make sense? There's more though. But I'll take a few questions before we go on. What's the likelihood of an institutional super cycle lasting 4 years? There's no institutional super cycle. Listen, Bitcoin's going to come back down, okay? I don't know whether it's going to come back down to these prices, but it's going to have a drawdown. Like get all of those. If it happens, it happens. I don't think we should even consider that as a thesis or possibilities. That's what got people into trouble. Like both cycles, 2017, 2021. US will do it. So what this is putting in motion, guys, is other countries. It's so funny. It's so funny because just yesterday, I'm gonna actually get a screenshot. Just yesterday, I was talking to Avi, and right. So in India, you know, the one good thing about Canada is that they've been kind of forward thinking in a lot of these regards, because Canada actually got its Bitcoin ETF before even the States, but India, on the other hand, has been lagging behind, like drastically, guys, drastically, and that's another thing that makes me long-term bullish on Bitcoin, because there's this market, billions and billions of people that have completely not been tapped into. Yes, there are the millennials who are finding, using whatever means they can to get access to these markets, but it's not come in a big way. Like the Gen Xers and the Boomers in India have not allocated to Bitcoin at all, and there's a lot of money coming in. There's a lot of money to be tapped into in India. Now, it was eventually going to happen, right? When it's the game theory. When you have all these countries adopting Bitcoin and giving this opportunity of wealth building to their people, you're going to have the citizenry of said country, of India, look at all these other countries and get really, really annoyed at their officials and say, what the hell are you guys doing? Everyone else is making so much money and you guys are constraining us for no freaking reason. You either allow us to do this or we are going to vote you out. Okay? There's going to be pressure coming in from the internal the internal affairs where politicians of these countries are going to be forced to allow people to adopt Bitcoin. And if they don't, they get voted out. And if they don't, there's going to be some other politician who comes in and uses that as an opportunity to get that voting base on their side. Okay, because at the end of the day, we're all incentivized by our own needs and wants. And there's no, because Bitcoin it doesn't pick a political side, right? So both sides of the political spectrum, whether you're left or you're right or in center, doesn't matter. You are going to be saying, hey, I want access to Bitcoin. Why are you keeping me poor? Right? The only people that's a beautiful thing about the game theory of Bitcoin, right? The only people that wouldn't want Bitcoin to be adopted are the existing powers, right? Are the people who are in control currently. But because of democracy, that always gives an opportunity for a new political power to come and use that to steal voting power from the existing power, right? You guys understand what I'm trying to say? Let's say there's politician A named Biden. Now I'm taking random names down, names that have never existed. Politician A named Biden comes in and is against crypto, okay? And then there's a politician B named Trump, okay, who comes in and says, hey, this Biden guy is against crypto, but there's so many people within his own base that love crypto, right? And there are people who don't like him, who love crypto. This is a no-lose strategy for me to come in and be the Bitcoin president, right? And this formula can be used across the world, right? Do you guys see what I mean by the game theory behind Bitcoin? Hey, Wolfie, how's it going? So Linda Anderson says, when I was buying a house in 2021, the mortgage company would not allow me to claim my crypto as an asset to qualify for a loan. Exactly. So Celinda, there you go, right? Think about how much has changed in just 4 years and how much will change in the next 10 years. Okay, now, because let's say you could have claimed your Bitcoin as your crypto as an asset to qualify for a loan, you would have less reason to sell a tad bit of your crypto, right? Or 25% of your crypto, or 50% of your crypto, depending on how much you sold. Back then, you probably had to sell way more because prices were lower than what they are today. So each time, it's a self-fulfilling loop over here, guys, where each time you have less marginal sellers, prices go up higher. And because prices go up higher, you're going to need to sell even less the next cycle to be able to buy that home, right? You guys see what I'm trying to say? Like, there's a self-fulfilling loop over here long term. Prices will come down, yes, for other reasons. But you have taken away a good portion of marginal sellers from this. Okay, is there anything else I want to talk about? We talked about, oh yeah, let's talk about the downsides over here. I mean, we spent so much time on this, but this is pretty important, okay? I'll do a shorter video later. I'm on this way. I'm a lot more succinct on all of these ideas. And these kind of live streams help me too. I'm just like talking out loud. One of the things I do want to talk about is the fact that this is one more step towards centralization. Okay, and this is something else I talked about in 2018, right? I used to harp on about this, where no matter what technology we build to decentralize things, over the long term, we will build technology on top of that to re-centralize things. And that's exactly what's playing out. Okay, if you study history, right, you'll see that this has been the cycle over and over and over again. We will decentralize, and then we will centralize, and then there'll be a huge collapse in trust, and then we'll decentralize again, and then we'll centralize. It'll keep happening, and we're seeing it happen yet again, not just through this instrument, but other instruments as well, right? This is not an instrument, but this is an incentive mechanism that has been implemented over here. The only way that you can qualify for this loan is if your Bitcoin is in a centralized, regulated exchange, right? It says it's somewhere right over here. Okay, that can be evidenced and stored on a US regulated centralized exchange subject to all applicable laws. So any cryptocurrency that can be evidenced and stored on a US regulated centralized exchange can be considered collateral. So it's gonna incentivize people to either go into Bitcoin ETFs or hold their Bitcoin somehow on a regulated centralized exchange. So you can't hold your keys and qualify, which I guess is fair, right? Because is it really collateral if you have full access to it and you can just walk away with it, right? That's completely fair. But my fear is that long term, people are going to just keep it on the exchange for convenience. And then we could see, like, I just want to think about the downsides over here, right? I think about tail risks. We have an organization much bigger than FTX that has the ability to hide their malpractices in a easier way, right? The bigger you are, you can get away with like smaller things, many small things that are relatively big compared to our industries at the moment, but you'll get away with it. These things begin to add up and add up and add up over years and years and years and years and years and years and years. Then everyone gets complacent over years and years and years and years and years because they've had their Bitcoin on so-and-so exchange for 10 years now, 15 years, and they're telling all their friends, oh yeah, I've had my Bitcoin on so-and-so exchange for like 15 years now, nothing has ever happened, right? And you get all these new folk too who build trust based on word of mouth. But what people don't understand, that these corporations, these institutions, they are exactly like human beings. They're living, breathing beings that get older and slower and clunkier and sicker and sicker. They're like organs that are wasting away. And eventually, there's a heart attack. Okay, and you stored all of your Bitcoin in this human being who is now about to conk off and gone. All that Bitcoin gone, right? So this could lead to a massive crash in not just Bitcoin, but also in housing over the long term, right? Because if housing starts getting collateralized via Bitcoin, anyways, this is a long-term concern that you guys should keep in mind, and there's opportunity there too if we can You know, if we as a community are keeping an eye on this while everybody else gets complacent on this, we'll find opportunity elsewhere. We always have done that, right? So there are concerns about this long term for me at the very least, but short term to mid term, when I'm talking about short term to mid term at the moment, I'm talking about the 5-year to 7-year horizon, and long term I'm talking about like 15 years to 20 years. People are able to use their crypto for a loan to buy a house now though, so even that will factor into without sacrificing their crypto in a way. Yeah, then you're not sacrificing your crypto, you're not selling your crypto, but you're sacrificing your keys, right? You don't have full control, but you shouldn't have full control if you're like, guys, something I talked about in back again in 2019 was the fact that through a lender's perspective, Bitcoin is by far one of the best collaterals you could give them, right? As long as they trust in Bitcoin as an asset, right? Yes, it's going to be volatile, but unlike housing, Bitcoin can be liquidated immediately at market price. Housing, while it's considered safe collateral, it's not as good collateral as Bitcoin. So lenders are going to love Bitcoin as collateral. The issue though is for the borrower is going to have to give up so much control to the lender that they have no recourse whatsoever if the lender acts maliciously, right? If the lender does something wrong, completely unrelated to the borrower could get affected in a massive way. And that's why housing still has a leg up, because at the end of the day, housing is still under your control, right? You could still go about legal rights, legal angles to keep control of your house, even if the lender has been malicious. Like, it's your house. Like, you can call the cops, you can call the government, etc., to help you out. The lender can't just come and take you home and say, hey, I messed up, sorry, I got to take you home. No, it's you still have your equity, etc. So you have more recourse than you would with your Bitcoin being fully in control of the lender and the lender gone, right? So there's something else to keep in mind. But I've talked about all the negative angles, and I think it's important to do that, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this is a lot of liquidity that's going to be tapped into. One way to look at this, guys, is that there's $2 trillion of liquidity that is going to be unleashed into the market. Okay, that in itself is bullish markets. Might be a solution with smart contracts some way, doing trustless lending, borrowing. That's already being implemented though, will be through the current lending platforms. It still doesn't change the fact that you have given up control of your keys. There could be like a third-party escrow kind of thing, like a 2FA, where if the lender messes up and a third party is allowed to be the second signer, and multi-sig allows you to get back your crypto. I guess that could be a solution. But again, you're still trusting two parties, right? There's risk. I get that there are solutions, but it's still not going to be as safe as you living underneath your home that can't be taken away because you paid off your home. And yes, you've used your home as collateral. But let's say you have $1 million home completely paid off, and then you borrow $250,000 against $1 million home, and then the lender messes up. $750,000 of your equity is not going to just disappear or be under trouble because the lender, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. It's your home, you're living in there, etc. $250,000 the lender messed up. Worst case scenario, you're going to have to pay a new lender who buys your loan off the lender who has messed up. That's what's going to happen in a situation where you borrowed against your home that's completely paid off. With Bitcoin, now you're stressed, right? You're stressed. You're like, oh my God, the lender messed up. I'm going to have to go to the second signer. But how do you pay the loan back? The mortgage you will get because crypto, same as now, or when you sell your crypto. Red pen, I don't understand. your question. I'm gonna. So you're saying, how would you pay back the loan, pay back the mortgage? It's the same. It's the same. You're just paying. You're just using your Bitcoin as collateral to qualify for the loan, and then it's the same thing. It would be the same thing. We talked about this. We talked about this like around 6 to 8 months ago, where I played a clip of this lender in the States who was Newfound Banking or something. I forget the name of the banking, but they essentially had constructed a mortgage where if you bought Bitcoin with your mortgage, right, with your home, like basically they said this: listen, if you're buying $500,000 home and you agree to buy Bitcoin with it, okay, you basically say, I'm buying a $500,000 home plus around 2 Bitcoin. They will then reduce your interest rate. Think about that. They are saying if you buy Bitcoin with your house and you are willing to keep that Bitcoin up as collateral, right, for the first 4 years of your home ownership, we will drop your mortgage rate. We will drop the interest that you have to pay. What is that saying to the people? That was a first big clue of where this was all being, where all of this was headed. That was telling the people that, hey, we look at Bitcoin as a less riskier asset than even your home, automatically increasing the price of Bitcoin. Those are all the first big signs that you wanted to be in Bitcoin and not on altcoins. And man, we haven't looked at a single chart this entire stream. We've been talking for at least half an hour. Okay, we talked about how this is going to unleash liquidity, how this is massive for Bitcoin holders, and how a new cohort of buyers are going to get interested, right? We also talked about the game theory of all of this. I'm going to press other governments to allow Bitcoin to be used as collateral, or for the governments to adopt Bitcoin. And that's exactly what is happening right over here. It's so funny. Just yesterday, just last night, I was talking to Avi. I'm not going to go up and pull up a screenshot for you guys. Whoa. What's frequency press that? 108. Oh, nice. So Avi and I were chatting last night, and while Canada is doing good, ahead of the game over here in many regards, America is fantastic. China and India are lagging behind, right? And I said to Avi, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Eventually, India is going to be forced to adopt crypto as well. They're gonna have to do it because the people are gonna demand it. I said it here. Yeah, it will happen eventually because people are gonna demand it. Politicians, or the politicians are gonna get voted out. Literally the next morning, the Indian ruling party spokesperson urges India to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Right? This is such a massive sentiment change in India. Massive sentiment change, because a lot of like, if you notice, right, there aren't all that many, at least from my perspective, there aren't all that many Indians in crypto unless they're doing it through roundabout ways, right, or doing it through, like, from what I understand, there aren't all that many exchanges that allow you, or banks that allow you to send money back and forth in India. And there are all these like restrictions on. This is nonsense where you have to claim capital gains, but you can't you can't claim capital losses that on crypto. Like, it's just nonsense, right, in India. And there's billions and billions of people in there, so this is huge too. Like, massive turn in India that have been so restrictive on crypto, right? The Indian ruling party spokesperson urges India to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. This isn't just telling them to be more open on Bitcoin. This is telling them, hey, not only you guys need to be more open to Bitcoin, you guys need to have it on your balance sheet as well, or we're going to vote you out. Okay? The people are going to demand it. Once countries are going to be looked at as less risky because they have Bitcoin on their reserve, all the dominoes are going to fall. Because now their creditworthiness is essentially a reflection of their ability to fund themselves. It becomes, because remember, what we talked about was the fact that we are a debt-based system. And debt-based system means that you want to be able to use your current assets to take loans against, right? You don't want to sell assets. You want to take loans against. But if you're taking a loan, you want those loans to be as cheap as possible. But if the people who are offering you loans are going to be looking at you and saying, hey, if you have Bitcoin, we are going to be offering you cheaper loans, or rather we are going to look at you as less riskier, it means that me as a country, I get to borrow for cheaper just because I have Bitcoin, right? Think about that. My borrowing costs drop down because I have Bitcoin. What does that do? That puts upside pressure on Bitcoin, because everyone is going to be looking at Bitcoin as, oh, it reduces my borrowing cost. Tell me there's no utility in that. Tell me there's no utility. Like, you are a absolute moron to say Bitcoin has no utility when you can use it to drop your mortgage rates, when you can use it to drop your borrowing rates, when you can use it to borrow against and buy anything the hell you want to. It becomes the strongest utility in the world. The strongest utility. Once this asset drops in volatility or it increases in price, either of the two, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. If both happen, it is a boom. It's like two massive catalysts happening at the same time, and there's just like $1 million minimum is going to be your target if you understand the implications of this. This is only a $2 trillion asset at the moment. Okay, that's around what I think Lynn Alden said, around 0.5 or 0.25% of all the capital base in the world for something that has so much power. Man, we haven't even talked about a single chart yet. How long have we been? I think I've been at this for an hour. Mr. Plow says, will always be a stronghold, but I disagree with you there on some aspects. Its utility will be very limited to others, in my opinion. When you say others, what are you referring to? Again, like, people don't understand what I mean by utility or what the wealthy mean by utility. Okay, like, for example, and by the way, I was in your shoes as well. When I got into the space, I was anti-Bitcoin and I was pro-Ethereum. I'm like, oh, there's so much utility in Ethereum, etc., etc. I'm sorry to say this. I can't think of any better way to say this, but that's a very poor person way to think of utility. Okay, because the strongest utility for the wealthy at the moment is the ability to be able to store their wealth and borrow against it. There's nothing stronger. There's nothing stronger. Okay. Now, when you say most, I agree. Okay, through just a nominal perspective, the amount of people that will not see utility in an asset like Bitcoin currently, I agree with you. They don't see it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Okay, there was a point in time where people did not see the utility in actually owning a home either. They felt the utility, but they did not see it, right? It was only when all their friends and family started owning homes and were reaping the benefits out of it that they were able to see it as well. It's going to be the same thing with Bitcoin, right? And you not being able to see it, or other people not being able to see it, is exactly the edge, is exactly the advantage. Yeah. They've moved away from that narrative now. Finally, seems like they've moved away from it. Man, that was the thing that really got me, that made me stop defending Ethereum completely, was when they tried to push that ultrasound money narrative. That really annoyed me. Because guys, you need to understand, I got into the space because of Ethereum, and they pushed me further and further and further away from them with just being. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, Mr. Plow. Other chains have more utility, right? I won't, like, if someone comes up to me and tells me, hey, I think the Solana chain or the Ethereum chain has more utility than the Bitcoin chain. Yeah. I wouldn't argue with you. I'd be like, yeah, Like, if I'm not gonna argue with you, but no one can come up to me and tell me that Ethereum or Solana as a coin has more utility than Bitcoin. I just do not believe that. You guys need to understand that Bitcoin is a protocol that has been designed to serve its currency. Okay, Bitcoin is a protocol that has been designed to serve its currency. Okay, so the currency, which is BTC, okay, is being served by the protocol and strengthening it. Ethereum and Solana, they are both currencies that have been designed to serve the protocol. Right? I am biased as all. I don't own BTC. That's great that you are self-aware about that. That in itself is a massive edge. Future percentages and gains is all I look at in comparisons is all. Again, that's completely fair to look at things that way, especially if you're starting out. But to a lot of people, they have to look at risk-adjusted percentages, right? So personally for me, a 200% gain on Bitcoin is going to do far more for me than a 2000% gain on an altcoin, right? Because I'm not going to put that much size on an altcoin, especially at this phase of the market. Think about it. Like we've been at Mango, we have been, let's start off with that, right? Let's go there. We should probably start off with this. So think about this. Think about it this way. Position sizing is everything, okay? Percentages is again, I'm being so crass. Maybe I'm not able to think of the right words, but it's a poor person's way of thinking, and it's one of the things that got me into trouble when I started off in this space as well. Where is my Bitcoin dominant chart? Green list, BTCD, right there. It's a poor person's way of thinking that percent is all that matters. It's not, okay? Your position size relative to your portfolio with percent gain is what matters, okay? We've been 90 to 95% Bitcoin for the entirety of the cycle, other than this one time over here. This, you guys see the circle over here where we got faked out and we had to readjust because we realized, oh wait, this is trending on the monthly and not on the weekly, right? I'm going to show you the weekly here anyways. Other than this one little week over here, we won 90 to 95% Bitcoin this whole cycle, okay? And because of that, look at how things played out for us, right? If you had that mindset of, oh, XYZ coin can go 10x and Bitcoin can go up only 200%, right? You would have gone into a lot of trouble, opportunity costs, etc., etc., etc. At Mango, however, we weren't just thinking, oh, we're going to avoid the coins that aren't doing well. We're going to be only in strong coins. We were also thinking, okay, if we put massive size onto Bitcoin, we don't need that much gain to get a huge win, right? We were prepared to start putting on size onto all coins and reduce size onto Bitcoin over here, right? But as soon as we realized that, no, wait a minute, risk adjusted, we are now better off. We have to go back to our previous strategy of 90% Bitcoin. Look at the gain that we had, right? When was this? Jan 2024. Holy crap. Damn, it's been a year and a half since that fake out. Time flies, eh? Okay, so we went back into 90 to 95% Bitcoin all the way back over Jan 2024 here. So 40,000 Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has done around 2.5x. Yeah, so 2.75x, right? Since then, way better than what most altcoins have done. And the easiness of picking this asset and not having to worry about it. Right now, by the way, I've done 10x's on all coins. I've done more than 3 to 4 10x's, but the size that I have on Bitcoin is what gives me peace of mind. You know what I mean? Because think about it, I'm 90%, I have 90 to 95% Bitcoin, right? So the 5% I have is distributed between like a few strong altcoins. So I can't have too much size. So when I do get those big wins, right, my altcoin size will increase to like 10% or something like that. But then I rebalance back to Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin keeps going up and up and up. Hey Sean, do you think we will have a greater than 50% drop this cycle in Bitcoin? I think so, yeah. I still believe in a bear market after a blowout. I think we will see more than a 50% drop. Don't let anyone make you think that otherwise, man. Because listen, man, I'm all over the place today, but I do want to answer this question. Let's say Bitcoin gets to like, okay, this bull flag, by the way, at the moment is pointing to 156. This is just one of our targets, and we'll go through all of our targets today as well. But let's say it gets to this level at around 156, 160 in a really fast way, right? It does it rapidly, okay? The Mango dynamic is not going to move as fast. Now it adjusts. It's one of the stronger trend indicators, as you guys can see. It hasn't given us a single fake out this entire cycle. If you go and look at your I don't say normal, your traditional trend indicators, you had fake outs throughout the cycle. The Mango dynamic will adapt to the trend. However, it will still not move as fast as price. It will move just enough, but not too much, right? Allowing us to see that the asset can very well drop 50% without losing trend. Okay, so where's my measuring tool, man? Here. Okay, so let's say we're sitting around 156, okay? Somewhere around here. And the Mango dynamic moves up to where current price is. Okay, cool. So we would be at around a 30% drop just to test the trend. Then if we lose the trend after that, we'd be breaking. Like, so basically trend would be here, right? Dynamic would be here. We'd be breaking trend, retesting it, and making a lower low. So we have to put in a lower high, and a lower low. Now we're dropping from around here, 150, 160-ish, all the way down to 76. That's a 53% drop. I could see that happening, very well see that happening, because that would be a downtrend. Like now, if I draw it out like this, all that should matter to you guys is, would the structure of the chart make sense in a bear market, right? And if I draw it out to you guys like this, oops, let me draw it. Let's take a fresh chart here, guys. Okay. So if I draw it out to you guys like this, goes up to like 160, comes down, tests the dynamic over here, right? Breaks it, finally. It's eventually going to break it. It's not like a magic line that's holding a price, right? Once it breaks it, we know that's our signal. Okay, cool. We have to take this seriously. Okay, we have got to start taking more profits off the table, hedging more, etc., short altcoins, because Bitcoin, every rally onto altcoins at that point, you may want to short. Like we'll do what's needed at the time. That's the big signal. Okay, it comes down, test, put in a low high, lower low, boom. Does this make sense? Does this look bad? If this happens, does the chart look, oh my God, I can't believe this happened? No, you're going to look back in hindsight and be like, oh, yeah, that's very possible. Don't worry about the nominal values, just look at structure. And if it's possible, you should entertain it. Yeah, gosh, so now you can draw a potential drawdown, and boom, that's 60%. And this doesn't even look all that volatile. This, what I've drawn, doesn't even look volatile. If you want to be consistent with a solid track record, sure. If you research, is all I'm saying. There are things that secure your investment. But yes, Bitcoin. Yeah, that's the thing, right? I totally agree with you over there, but I have a responsibility to the entire community when I come out here every single day. So I have to think about them as well when I talk about everything I'm talking about, which is why Mango has not been flashy or sexy. But at the same time, we've kept our community extremely safe, extremely profitable at the same time. So I personally, unlike other influencers out there, which kind of like, they say things sometimes that make me go, why are you saying this? You may have the skill to be able to manage your risk, but most of your audience don't. So you have to say things in accordance to their ability, and you can't just absolve yourself of responsibility, right? So personally, I don't say things on the stream that I would otherwise say in the private chats or in the seed private group or in the seed clubhouse sessions. Like I talk about other things. I talk about other opportunities because I assess the person or the audience's ability to manage their risk, right? Now, Seed has a deep focus on risk management. Like we spend, like in the Seed program alone, there's like around in the Seed risk management module alone, there's 5.5 hours of risk management core education. But then on top of that, prior to that module, we have the Thinking Like Trader module, etc., reality of markets module. So if you look at the Seed program, there's around minimum of 10 hours of risk management discussion, right? So I trust them to know what needs to be done when I talk about riskier investments. But on the daily videos, I have to be very, very careful, man. And I know that may like hinder Mango's growth, and we're not as flashy and sexy, but I sleep well at night. I don't feel disgusting about myself because yeah. But I do agree with you when you say if you do your research, you can find massive opportunity. I really agree with you. It's just that I have to be careful personally about what I say. You guys definitely have one of the better influence videos. Hey, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Red Panda says, for all season start, having money at alts, and after the season switching back. I mean, okay, so if you guys in the, again, seed program, right, go and watch the seed session from 2 weeks ago. I went on a long rant on how to view the altcoin market and all season. And I'll do a session over here too on the daily videos because I just don't have the energy right now. I'm tired. And I want to talk about a few things in regards to the charts as well. But if you guys are on the seed program, please watch that. Please watch that. It will save you guys so much pain in regards to your mental stress as well, and how to view altcoins. This is your mindset and how you're viewing the market will play 90% of the role in your position. Right? I think most people are getting it wrong because they're viewing this whole idea of the altcoin season wrong. And you will continue to view it wrong. And you will miss out on this entire cycle. And only in hindsight, you're going to be like, oh man, how did I miss out on all these altcoin gains? Because it's not like altcoins are doing bad, right? It's just about understanding the truth about altcoin season, right? Toronto says, love your analysis, especially all the free alpha you showing YouTube. Hey man, thank you. I try. I don't do as much content as I used to do, but I'm still here. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin. I'm just going to go quickly over basics. So we're going to start off with the Mango dashboard at app.mangoresearch.co. Of course, everything is looking fantastic. You cannot argue with this. Green. You have some nice blues over here too. Blue on the 2-day volatility. 2-day, really important. We're going to be spending some time on that today. The daily is sitting at 13, 12 hours long, but red-ish. It's still at 63. 4 hours looking good as well. 4 days long, weekly long. You just cannot be bearish on this. Bitcoin dominance still in a massive uptrend. This has been just going up and up and up. And again, just while every other community has been trying to call a top on this, the entirety of this freaking run. And when they eventually do, they're going to be they're going to call themselves geniuses, even though they call the top here, they call the top here, they call the top here, they call the top here. And finally, they'll get over here and say, "See, I told you so." Right? That's how it's going to play out. How do we do things at Mango? We don't try to call tops. We just play the trend. We play the trend. We play the trend. And it may be here or it may have been here. It doesn't matter. We'll call the top when we see the actual downtrend, right? So we'll call the top maybe over here, maybe on the break of the trend, right? I don't need to catch this. You don't need to catch it either, okay? Because you try, you may see pain throughout the year. You don't know when the trend is going to end. It could take years. And look at that. It has taken years, right? People have been trying to call this top for years, literally. Okay, going back to our next trend indicator, which has been, again, keeping us safe for this entire cycle, has given us a massive buys, has made me a lot of money. Thank you. God freaking thank you. Like, this has been the easiest cycle for us at the very least over here at Mango. So we need to be really appreciative, because I'm beginning to see how many people have struggled, but gotta give massive props to Julian too, because over here, he was the first one to draw attention to the bi-weekly dynamic. And he is this area over here, I believe Julian had pointed out. And then we watched this. And I started taking it very, very seriously at the time too, because this was, when you identify a signature, just follow it. That's what we did for SUI too, right? We don't need to overcomplicate things. And also this idea of I've spoken about this. I know this is controversial, and that's why I don't try to push it. But me personally, this idea of relying on backtesting a trend has not been working. Doesn't work. Or rather, let me say, identifying a signature for the current environment is more important than identifying what worked in the past. Why? Because assets have different personalities depending on where they are on their long-term trend. Right? Assets don't move like this forever, right? They don't just move like this forever. So checking a trend indicator, a perfect trend indicator, or a perfect time frame during one phase of cycle may not be what you need to do for the current phase of cycle. For example, an asset may do this, and then its trend profile may change to this, right? So you need to change the time frame of how fast this trend is moving. You don't know until you look at the big picture and assess the trend. And we assess that over here. Okay, we aren't going to be looking at the weekly dynamic. We're going to be looking at the bi-weekly dynamic, and that turned out to be the right trade until it loses the bi-weekly dynamic, and then we know what to do. Similar with SUI, as long as it's holding the 2-day, we follow it. It starts disrespecting the 2-day, we switch on over to a higher time frame, and that's again what we do for SUI. So yeah, a bi-weekly is still holding, so nothing to worry about over here. Did we get there? No, we didn't. Right. So now, personally, what I've been doing is I've been playing the most recent movement on the 2-day time frame, right? The most recent trend on the 2-day time frame. But it wasn't wrong to play it on the 4-day. We had a discussion on this in the Grove. You could play it on the 4-day as well. I personally wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, and play it on the 2-day, and it's working out. It's still working out. So yeah, bi-weekly still holding, looking for further upside. I do want to talk about this target over here. Now, we have multiple targets based on the analysis that we are looking at. This target is based on the bi-weekly bull flag, right? And again, very, very simple bull flag target, which is coming in around $158,000. So keep that at the back of your mind. Now we're going to go ahead and look at a cup and handle bull flag. Now, this cup and handle that we have drawn out over here, we drew all the way back in around May or somewhere May 2024. So it's been a year now where we drew this out, and we had two targets. I posted it on Twitter too at the time. We had first target of around $101,000 to around $119,000, and second target is around 191 to 220. Now notice, my targets for this simple bull flag over here is coming in at 160, but my targets over here is coming in around 101 to 119. First target, second target is 190 to 200. what that shows you guys is that there's no one target. It depends on the analysis that you're doing, the tool that you're using, the technique that you're using, etc., etc. You get all your targets and you try to get confluence, okay? Because that will increase the probability for said target hitting. So over here, we hit our first target already, and we've been consolidating for around 6 months. I think we are due for the next run. The next run should take us to our second target based on this cup and handle, which is coming in around $190,000. Okay. Based on this bull flag, though, the target is only 160, but that doesn't mean it needs to stop there. So if you take the combination of these two ideas, what does it tell you? It tells you that we should be looking for at least around 150 to 160, right? And then there's a decent probability we see an overextension to around 220. Now, going back to our next target zones. Now, this over here, we drew out all the way back when Bitcoin was sitting at around 16K to 19K. And this was based off our initial cyclical positioning. And our cyclical target is around 120,000 for this, with some overextensions drawn in over here at 150 to 190. I wouldn't spend too much time on this chart over here because this was drawn in all the way back then in 2023. So if you consider that we drew this out when price was sitting at 16K and prices now have gotten to 111 and the target is only literally 6% away, for all intents and purposes, this is done. This target is done, right? Like, we'll be nitpicking to take into consideration the fact that we drew this out and Bitcoin was sitting somewhere around here. Okay, we've moved up 483%, and we're looking at only another 6 to 10% more for the target to get hit. I mean, like, so if you are playing, what I'm trying to say is, if you are playing it based on this and this alone, from where we started this trade, you want to essentially take profits, right? You don't want to wait for that last few percent just because, you've already got a massive gain. Now, moving on, 2-day analysis over here. This is the dynamic that we've been playing this off. You can see that price dipped, right? Everyone got scared here. This was because of the war escalation, etc., and I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying that this was going to be a big concern. If we did break underneath, though, if we did close the 2-day dynamic, close underneath the 2-day dynamic over here, of course I'd have to exit my trade. My rule is a rule. Rules are rules. You don't break your rules, but we held, right? So I literally had to take no action whatsoever. And in hindsight, everyone's going to forget what this was. Even though at the time it felt like the world was ending, now all it does is look like a bull flag, right? Look at that. Pole, flag, and once you start closing candles above 110, bull flag would have been broken to the upside. Look at that. It's just, you had a massive opportunity to get into position over there. And 2-day is looking fantastic. Where's my candles? So you're essentially looking for around candle closes around 110. And if you do get that, I'll be looking towards 120, 130, 150. After that, like, you can actually just draw out a target like this. Take this entire pole. Let's see what we get. 156. This actually lines up. Proppy has been doing a lot more home sales with Bitcoin and contracts on chain. Really, eh? Proppy. I'll go check that out. Mr. Plow says 156K is your target. Nice. Lines up. Wow. Okay, cool. 76K market perfectly. Yeah, Wolvie took the 76K trade too. Good job, guys. 112K mark, 98K recently hit. Yeah, good job. Yeah, did you type that out before I drew this out? That's crazy. Okay, so Planet00 says I messed up, only held ETH and Link this cycle. Yeah, that's rough, man. The thing though is, right, every cycle that you make a mistake, it strengthens you for the next cycle. If you don't make mistakes, right, that's kind of where you have to worry about long-term success. The things I'm most worried about are areas that I haven't been tested in and just gotten lucky, right? And a lot of people who've made a lot of money by just getting lucky have given it all back. They've given it all back to the market. So making mistakes is actually a very, very, very good thing, because it really strengthens you for the next cycle, because you know exactly what to do, what not to do. Like, one of the things that we were able to do at the beginning of the cycle, and all the Mongolians can vouch for this, is right at the beginning of the cycle, 2023-ish, when Sol was sitting around $16 to $20, right? We did a proper trend analysis, spent a lot of time, and we said, listen, guys, if you are doing the whole 75% Bitcoin and 25% ETH, because at the time people were being safe. They're like, I'm not buying alts. I'm just going to stay Bitcoin and ETH, right? Or if you're doing the mango way to do things was 90-10. So you do 90% Bitcoin, 10% ETH. If you're doing either of this, from our analysis, you should be taking this 25% ETH or 10% ETH, whichever one of these ratios you pick, and convert it all to Sol. Now, I don't know anything about Sol. I actually don't know. We just did a pure trend analysis, pure structural analysis, and we were able to identify that was the better asymmetric long-term trade and better EV while still keeping your risk down. It would have been especially better if you were here, right, on the 90-10, right? Over here, maybe you'd want to do 75% Bitcoin, 12.5% ETH, 12.5% Sol. Maybe, okay? I don't know what it would feel like doing 75% Bitcoin, 25% ETH, because I'd never do that. I think that's way too much ETH, personally for me. This would have been a lot more digestible at the time, 90 to 10 ETH. But then when you do your analysis and you look back at all the mistakes I've made in previous cycles, I was able to say, no, all of this needs to go into Sol, right? It's the better, safer thing to do. And I was able to do that because of mistakes I've made in the past. So your mistakes, my man, they feel shitty right now, but they're strengthening you for the future. Okay, here I want to do a analysis of the cloud, and I want to talk about how to use the cloud, because it has been very powerful as long as you know how to use it properly. Now, the thing, right, the traditional way to use the cloud, or rather, I don't say traditional way, but how most people use it is they'll use the Tenkan and the Kijun as what you need to understand is that the cloud is a system. It's a system that is essentially, simply put, what it's doing for you is giving you the strength of the trend depending on what you're seeing holistically across all the indicators over here, right? Because you're seeing there's at least 3 indicators just through the visual eye, but there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's one hidden here that I'm not showing, but it's like at least 5, but I could actually say there are more. So let's just say there are 4 different indicators, and depending on where price is relative to those indicators and where those indicators are relative to each other, it's giving you a really good idea of trend strength. Okay, so what do I mean by that? For example, okay, over here, the current juncture, what price is telling you, I'm going to hide my drawings, what price is relative to the indicators is, price is above the Tenkan, which is your blue line, price is above the Kijun, price is above the top of the cloud, price is above the bottom of the cloud. The Tenkan is above the Kijun, which is good. The Kijun is above the cloud, which is good. And the cloud is green. And you know the cloud is green because I'm not going to get into that, but the cloud is green, right? That's all that matters, should matter to you guys. So what we have is prices above the Tenkan above the Kijun above the cloud. Very, very, very good. So this is showing strong trend strength. Now, just because price is underneath the Tenkan doesn't mean the trend is not strong. It's just not as strong as it is right now. That's what it's telling you. And just because price goes underneath the Kijun as well, it doesn't mean that the trend is broken. All it's telling you is that the trend may be under threat, but it's not broken yet. Okay. The only time you could say that the cloud trend is actually broken and we're in the downtrend is when you actually have price underneath the cloud. Cloud is red and the Kijun is above the Tenkan. That is like ultra bearish. And if you think about it, this entire cycle, The 2-day cloud is all you needed to keep an eye on, right, for staying on the right side of the trade. Okay, and the Ichimoku is a free indicator, right? So all you have to say is, hey, we're above the cloud, we're above the Tenkin, we're above the Kijun, cloud is green, the trend is on. And when was this? This was around the time, and by the way, we weren't looking closely at the 2-day at the time. We were using the high time frames, which gave us the same trade. But this caught it really early, guys. Look at that. Cloud has been green and price has been in equilibrium with the cloud this entire time. And you can use the Tenkin and the Kijun to assess the strength of the trend. So yeah, things are fantastic. If you think about it, right, there's only one time that you had a bit of a scare, which was right over here, right? And everyone probably remembers this. Just around the time of my birthday. Of course, Krisha's birthday and Sean's birthday are the times where you get your biggest scares or your biggest dumps, right? So I remember this clearly because at the time I was waiting for the bi-weekly dynamic to give us the exit signal. I was like, man, I was going through some personal issues too, right? With family at the time. I didn't have the time to be at home. I was at the hospital, etc., and I had to stay at a hotel. I was like, man, I don't have time to manage these trades. I just want to rip the bandage off. It's been a good run. I want to exit. But the bi-weekly dynamic, like, look at this. We lost the bottom of the cloud too over here, right? On the 2-day. The bi-weekly dynamic at the time was what we were following, and we got a clean close above. I was like, we're going to have to stay in the trade, guys. We're going to have to stay in the trade. And right after that, every bi-weekly was just a massive uptrend. So yes, follow your freaking indicators. Over here too, you'd be exiting if you were ultra aggressive. At most, you'd be hedging over here or like scaling out, because the very next 2 days, all you had to wait was 2 more days, and we closed back into the cloud. And yeah, it's been good ever since. Over here too, I guess, right? Yeah, here too, we broke underneath, bounce off the 2-day 2-day 200 moving day average. So this was the whole tariff thing, yeah. So both times over here fake out, both times fake out over here as well, and both times we bounced off the bi-weekly dynamic instead. Yeah, bi-weekly dynamic over here too. Yep. So bi-weekly dynamic is what kept us safe this entire cycle. All right. Now finally, is there anything else that we want to talk about? Oh yeah, we'll wrap up with this. Any questions though before? ATP, I think it's too late. I just gotta hold till ETH goes up. ATP, oh, you mean at the moment? Or at present? Okay, I think you mean at present. I think it's too late. I just gotta hold till ETH goes. The famous last words. Do not make an assessment based on, I think it's too late. I think it's gone down too much. Do not ever do that. Do not ever do that. Look at the charts and make an assessment based on what the charts are telling you, okay? Do not make an assessment based on, oh, I think it's already gone up too much. Oh, I think it's already gone down too much. Oh, I think it's too late. No. Something's gone down 90%, it can go down another 90%. And after that, it'll go down another 90%. So I'm not saying ETH is done. I'm just saying never say, I think it's too late. Never say that. As soon as you find yourself saying that, we all say that. We all say it, by the way. We all say that. It's a first instinct to say that. It's a defense mechanism in a way, because you don't want to deal with the pain, right? But as soon as you say something like that, you have to recognize that that's a red flag, and you need to really sit up and start making some decisions, okay? Spend time. Really take, when you say something like that, you need to pull out pen and paper, draw out 2 columns, and try to be as objective as possible. Because you could be setting yourself up for a lot more pain, because you might just be gambling. At every point you're like, it's too late, it has to bounce it, all right? You trying to call the bottom is a gamble. You trying to call the top is a gamble, right? So it's never too late. Let's go see. What ETH BTC is saying. It's not bad. So Wolfie says Planet, just keep in mind that it might not go up against Bitcoin. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say next. It's at resistance right now, so you got to be careful. It's not just low high. So yeah, one of the things that you ETH holders may want to do to help you guys psychologically is just do not look for it to beat Bitcoin as a necessity in the cycle. Because if you guys constantly look at the ETH BTC chart, you may just feel a lot of pain. And if you're constantly looking at the ETH BTC chart, it means that you actually rather have Bitcoin. So why are you in ETH, right? If you're constantly looking at ETH Bitcoin, why do you want to beat Bitcoin? Why do you want to beat Bitcoin? Why is it so important, right? It's because you rather have the safer, more stronger performing asset, right? And we can go look at ETH Bitcoin now. And you'll see what Wolvie's talking about over here. He's talking about, let me clear this out, switch to the weekly and Z. He's talking about, let this load. He's talking about this downtrend against dynamic resistance. If it wants to load, trading view. Okay. Yeah, resistance, rejected. It's been a downtrend this entire cycle, man. And it's not even tested the bi-weekly dynamic yet. So even if it does get up over here, chance to get rejected yet again. Yeah, I mean, this was our target. We drew out this target for ETH BTC all the way over here. So, but remember, just because I have a target doesn't mean you can't break the target, right? So we had a target 1 of around 0.02 and then target 2 of 0.016. It took a long time to play out, but got there eventually. 480 days to play out. That's kind of why I wasn't like, this is a simple analysis, right? I wasn't too keen on the whole ETH positioning when you go look at Sol BTC instead. Now, by the way, Sol Bitcoin has broken down, which is why we've been out of Sol for the longest time, right? But Sol BTC has been in an uptrend for the past like 400 days. Like, let's say you go here to around here. Yeah, 360, so 1 year of massive uptrend. And then even over here, by the way, our thesis was that it was not going to break here. You guys remember that? Right? It was not going to break here. That was my thesis. And it did not. If it did break though, I would have to readjust and look to get Sol somewhere around here. Maybe I would have done some over here too, maybe. But everything worked out according to plan. We put up a consolidation, could have broken up. It followed our thesis, broke down instead, downtrend, right? So this, by the way, the assessment between the Sol Bitcoin chart, the Sol Bitcoin chart, the ETH Bitcoin chart, and then looking at Sol ETH made us go, it's just stupid for us to have ETH. Just put all of that ETH into Sol instead. And I'm not the only one thinking that way, okay? I'm not some genius thinking that way, by the way, guys. It's every smart market participant is thinking the same way. That's why these charts move this way. It's because everyone's looking at the same thing. For the purpose of trading Bitcoin, do you ever use proxies or just the pure? No, I just trade Bitcoin. If you're talking about things like MicroStrategy and miners, etc., I don't have exposure to any of that. So that way, put all your Sol. I did actually allocate all of my Sol allocation to SUI at the time. So this is great questions, by the way. So you guys see, right, how my flow is very simple. Start off with the idea of, hey, should we get into ETH? No. Sol is looking better. I'm going to get into Sol. And then when we hit our Sol targets, right, which was here against Bitcoin, I started reassessing. Okay, what am I liking? And one of you guys brought SUI to my attention. Like, there was one dude who was like spamming SUI here on the live streams constantly. And I remember I found Chainlink because of you guys as well. So there's this dude spamming link. I'm like, I gotta check out the SUI chart. And we looked at SUI. Let's go look at SUI. We're looking at SUI on the 2-day, and we're looking at the USD chart. I have it here. Let's go pull it up. So we traded SUI like 3 trends now, right? And SUI at the time here, right? So we started first looking at SUI over here, and we traded for this entire run, and then this entire run, and then this run over here too. And it was a very, very simple thesis. As long as the two-day $2, as long as the 2-day dynamic is holding, we're going to look for the $2 target, right? And for this trend, it was perfect because both played out, where we hit the $2 target and then we lost the 2-day dynamic, and we just exited, watched it go all the way down. It played the 2-day on the downside too. We could have shorted this, but we did not. In hindsight, it's so easy, right? But then we got back into the trade over here, right, for the 2-day dynamic trade again. Now this time we had a very similar thesis, okay, where we were looking for $7 or until the 2-day dynamic gives away. This time we did not get to our target, but we were still able to exit with massive profit, because once we lost the 2-day dynamic, we exited the trend. Now I want you guys to use this as a lesson in being a trend follower and not trying to call the top. You can have a target, right? But don't get egotistic. Don't try to call the top, okay? Don't say, no, SUI has not gotten to $7 and that's my target, and I want to prove to all of YouTube that I am right. I don't care about being right. All I care about is making money, okay? So I could have been stubborn and want to be right more than I wanted to make money. But I don't care about being right. My philosophy is that we don't try to call tops. We can have targets, but if we lose the trend, I'm out, right? So now, we lost a 2-day, and we did the same thing that we did over here. Just watched it go all the way down. Again, in hindsight, we should have shorted it, but it's not that easy. And we took the same trade again. 2-day dynamic, cleared it. In fact, over here too. In fact, I did not get my position over here. I did not get my position over here. We should have added. I just got a starter position. Most of my position was built over here. So starter position over here, and then we were hoping for upside. Did not work out. Okay, you're not going to win every single trade. And now when you notice that, hey, it's losing the 2-day dynamic for the first time since we started this easy trade, we have to recognize that this is a change of behavior. It should not have lost the 2-day dynamic over here, not after drawing so much distance away from the 2-day dynamic. I did not like that. Now, some of you took the trade again, which is completely fine. There's not wrong, by the way. Let's say, I think over here, right, we claimed the 2-day over here, and you took the trade again. Completely fine to do so. Me personally, I was like, no, this is no longer trending on the 2-day dynamic. I'm not trading this, right? I'm going to wait for the bi-weekly, or I'm just going to wait for a different opportunity. When I understand what this wants to do, I'm going to look at other assets. And what we started trading instead was SXP. Sorry, SPX. SPX 6900. So look at the flow of how I traded the cycle. I went from considering ETH to instead going Sol to SUI as my major altcoin holding. I have other alts, right? I start building position on other alts too because I have allocation. But when I free up allocation on one alt, I end up freeing up risk allocation to allocate more to another position like SUI. So ETH, Sol to SUI to SPX, right? Because I no longer needed to be in SUI, I was able to get a bigger position into SPX 6900. Now, I'm not using any fundamentals on any of these assets for my positioning. It's pure trend analysis. Yeah. Now, we start trading this instead, right? It's looking fantastic, so I'm going to keep at it until... We expected it to see resistance over here. By the way, I drew this out, if you guys remember. And do you guys remember how just last week I was feeling a bit bummed about following my rules? for following my rules, and I was bummed because I was like, I know what this is gonna do. Okay, let me backtrack over here. Price came up to our resistance, and because we closed underneath, I did not buy. Right, I was like, I'm not adding to my position. And then the week started, and we were actually printing this candle. This candle was green, right? You can see this wick, right? So price was actually moving up. I was like, man, guys, I know what this is gonna do. This closed at resistance, and it's just gonna keep going. And I did not buy. It sucks. Whatever. I'll see what I'll do. I'll reassess later. You know, you guys remember that stream, right? I was just like bummed, but I followed my rules, right? And look at that. It paid off. It freaking paid off. So yeah, we got to add to our position right over here on the weekly dynamic. I didn't add too much, but now in hindsight, considering how much it's bounced, it was a good position, right? So, because even small ads end up being good when you get a nice bounce, like 50% and currently 37%. So you've been going for 1 hour 45 minutes. Holy. Okay, I need to stop. Thank you, Wolvie. Okay, I'll stop here, guys. I'll stop here. All right. With that, keep it mango, keep it easy, keep it stress-free. I appreciate the community looking out for me. I've been going for a very, very, very long time. And this was supposed to be a quick stream. This was supposed to be a 25-minute stream. So much for that. Thank you, Wolves. I appreciate that, man. I don't have targets for SUI. SUI is not on my. I don't like it. So you can look at the bi-weekly, and it lost the bi-weekly too. So I don't know, man. I haven't looked at SUI ever since it lost the 2-day, to be honest. I haven't spent too much time on it. I'm not interested in SUI. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about it. I mean, I like it while it's going up. Like this was a very, very simple trade for us. We weren't like overcomplicating it. It was just like 2-day uptrend, loses 2-day downtrend. 2-day uptrend, loses 2-day downtrend. 2-day uptrend, tried again, lost the 2-day. Unfortunately, it did not work out. Cheers, guys. I'll see you guys in the Mango Grove on our Discord, mango.com/Discord. And don't forget about the Bitunix $1,000 giveaway. All you need to do is hit the like, click on the link, deposit $1,000 US. And by the way, guys, make sure you click the link because some of you have not clicked the link, and then it makes it very difficult for us to allocate your funds after that. So it just makes life easier for us. Keep mango, keep it easy, keep it stress-free. Ciao.